Brothers and sisters, what if you've missed the door? What if you've missed the opportunity of eternal life? What if you've been shepherded into the wrong gate? We know the gate is very narrow, and I've been wrestling with this the last month, wondering what the whole point of even having a revolution is, because this is a behavior revolution. But a revolution implies that you're taking back something by force. You're changing the status quo, standing up to the status quo by any means possible. And when I look out there at the body, at the believers, everybody's just satisfied with the status quo. But are they really? So I've been wrestling with Yahusha of sorts, sort of thinking, what is the point of this? Very few are going to be chosen. I've made over 1,000 videos with the Torah Institute, and then I've made over 1,000 videos since then in the behavior revolution. And I'm wondering, and I'm looking, and I'm seeing the comments, and I'm seeing, Yahusha says, don't throw your pearls to swine. They'll turn on you and, rip you to shreds, trample you. Is there something wrong with me? I've been thinking, why can I see this and no one else? What is the point of a revolution? Nobody's interested. So I've gone a bit quiet and introspective and thinking about it, and wondering if it's even, look at Noah. He was tasked to do a job. He wasn't out there trying to save the world. Yahusha shut the door because he knew he'd try and help people and probably overturn the boat because he tried to help people in. No, the door just shut. But I look at it and it's the days of Noah. It's the days of Sodom and Gomorrah. It's as wicked and controlled, and the airwaves are just full. All the channels, all the commentaries, all the preachers, teachers, pastors, rabbis, all the opinions. Every social media platform, every media outlet is just flooding the airwaves with nonsense and filth. And so I've been sort of feeling very helpless, going, what is the point? What is the point of opening my mouth about the scripture, about Yahusha, about the door, about his reign, about the true baptism? What is the point? And Yahusha is sort of showing me now that why don't you work with the ones that I've given you? There are some that are interested. There are some that are very discontent, not satisfied with what they see around them, with what the status quo is. And I build things from nothing, Yahusha says. And I know I'm pretty nothing, come from nothing, and I am nothing. And Yahusha uses nothingness. He raises something up new from the ashes, from nothing. But you've got to kill it first. And that's what Yahusha's been dealing with me. Everything I've tried to do has been about me, surrounded me, focusing on me, centered on me. Everything had to do my way. And Yahusha doesn't work like that. His ways are not our ways, and our ways are not his ways. He's going to work the way he's going to work. And so I've, been wrestling, going, what are you doing? What was the point of all this? What was this? What was that? What was the point of, most of my family aren't around anymore. I've got one son who's interested, one son out of 8 children who I could talk to Yahusha about. I'm thinking, what was the point of all that? What was the, you're asking these genuine questions, going, what did you put me through all that for? What was it for? This revolution. Who's interested? People just think we're a stupid little cult. People can't see. They're just addicted to this. They're all Hebrew junkies. They're just addicted to the text. They can't see what's going on in there. And they just, he said, well, they hated me first. They hated my apostles, my disciples. They're going to hate you. And I expect hate from the world, but I didn't expect hate from the body, and that was my shock. It was like deja vu coming out of Christianity, sharing it with everybody, thinking, look what we've discovered. You're going to want this. And nobody wants it. They want the status. They want to put their heads back down, go back into the country club mindset. And I'm finding the same thing now with the Messianic Sennacherib and everybody. They're the people I've been trying to reach. And Yahusha said, that's why you're getting exhausted. That's why you're getting to, down and feeling useless, because you're trying to reach people that aren't interested in me. And so now We're going to come back different. We're going to do things different. Yahusha has been talking to us the last few years. And he has been taking us on a journey. And it's got to start from death. But I want these little videos to be very easy to understand. I don't think it's confusing. I mean, is there something wrong with me? I think Yahusha is very easy to understand. I think the fullness of the book, the fullness of the Torah and the prophets is all one person. Just one. One person. Not multiple, not a trinity, not a duality. I remember back when I was only 18, 19 years old. We went off on a vacation somewhere with a couple of my closest friends, and while other people are out partying and whatnot, we were reading, well, back then there was no internet, we were reading textbooks and things, trying to work out what this tetragrammaton was. You know, we were still Christians. Even back then he was calling me, saying the status quo, you know, and of course the encyclopedias and whatnot that I was reading was saying the four symbols, the four, you know, letters, the unutterable name was Lord. Yeah, that's what it is in English. Of course, that was just the beginning of the journey, the tetragrammaton. Originally Hebrew, of course, Paleo-Hebrew. Of course, it's a Yod, Hey, Uah, and that took us into Yahweh, into W's and E's and whatnots. But when you look at the actual enunciation and the sounds of the mouth and the diphthongs and what all those sort of things, it's Yahuah. That's his real name. That's the key of all knowledge, the creator, Yahuah. But even then, you've got to come further than that, because you've got to see, what did Yahuah do? What did he do? I mean, the first couple of chapters of Genesis don't even have a name. They just call him Alahim. Most of the world just use the word God, but God just means any generic mighty one, any generic deity you could be calling on anybody. So while God to an unbeliever might do, that's not really accurate. It's more Alahim. Alahim is the Hebrew word. That's probably the only Hebrew word I would use apart from his name, Alahim, because Hebrew's not where it's at. It's a real behavior that he's looking at. And Yahuah wants us to copy him. He went to the death of himself. He transitioned. He morphed into a human vessel for deliverance. He became our deliverer. That's what Yahusha means. I am your deliverance. I am your deliverer. There is no deliverer other than me. So there's only one being that you should be referring to, Yahusha. Yahusha is the Son. He came in the image of the Son. Yahuah was the image of the Father. But who came first? That's the question. Who came first? Oh, people are heralding Yahuah and calling on Yahuah in the name of Yahusha. Calling on Yahuah. He was there in the beginning and he'll be there in the end, with the new name that nobody knows. Well, have a think about this. As I said in the beginning of Genesis, there is no name. There's only Alahim. Alahim created. Alahim did this. Alahim saw. Alahim said. Alahim saw that it was good. Alahim, Alahim. A few chapters in, the name Yahuah appears. It's almost like, what if the Aleph Tor, who Yahusha says is him in Revelation, so we know Yahusha's been there all along. What if this cosmic, mighty, omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent, omnipotent creator being outside of heaven and earth, what if he chose to come into his creation in the image of a father? What if he chose to introduce himself to his creation as a creator, father image, which was called Yahuah? And then he chose to empty himself and come into his creation literally, physically, as a man, as our deliverer, Messiah, the Son of Man, divine human being. Alahim man, called Yahusha. And now, of course, ever since he died and took his blood back into the heavenly throne room, as the freshly slain lamb opening the seals. He's seated on that throne. He says all power. He said that when he sent out his disciples at the end of Matthew. He said, all power in heaven and earth has been given to me. All power and authority. And we know the Hebrew concept of Alahim is there's only one. Behold, Yisrael, I am your Yahuah, your Alahim, I am one. Hear, O Yisrael, I am one. There's only one. There can only be one. There's not two. There's not a father and a son. It's imagery. We've been speaking about this for a while now. It's imagery. He appeared. He appeared to Jacob and wrestled with Jacob, sconed him in the hip. Was that Yahuah or was that Yahusha? These are the questions you've got to ask yourself. He appeared in many forms all through the scriptures as a father, as a son, as a lamb. He's much greater than all those things. But he is Yahusha and he is Alahim now. And that is the doorway. That's what these videos are going to be about. The true door. You've missed the true door. You have missed the true door to deliverance, to eternal life. Because you've got to come in through his name. And sure, you've got to know that the key of knowledge is the name Yahuah. But you've got to know who Yahuah is, where Yahuah went. Yahuah's gone. Yahuah left his throne, came to earth as a man, as our deliverer, Yahusha. He's called Yahusha. And there is no other name under heaven or earth whereby men can be saved, and women. Can't be saved, delivered through any other name. Oh, but we're English and just get over it. He knows our heart. We're English. We just speak English and we say Jesus. Well, Jesus is only 500 years old, 600 years old. That's useless. Now, if you try and type in the wrong password to your bank account online, what's it going to say? Oh, you know my heart, just let me in. No, it's like that. He's very specific, not because he's nitpicking about his name. And if you've got a slight accent or Yahuah, Yahusha, Yahushua, you know, whatever. It's not Jesus, is it? No such thing as a letter J even until 600 years ago. So it's really important because it's not just words. It's who he is. It's the power behind that name. And the power behind that name doesn't come unless you know who he is. Understand that? Yahuah became Yahusha, and Yahusha went back to the throne after his death, burial, and resurrection, ascension, went back to the throne and is seated on the throne. He is coming back for us. I believe he's stood up. Just look at the world. Look what's going on in the world. Yahusha is our Alahim. Only when you recognize that Yahusha is your Alahim and understand the journey he went on, the death, he followed the journey of the feasts. He followed them, the death and burial and resurrection. And then he said, come on, just like through the curtain. Come on through the veil. I'm right here. The veil of dimensions is so thin. Heaven's not up in the sky somewhere in another galaxy. It's right here. His dimension is right here. But it's invisible. It's an invisible reign. And you can only access it with the password. His name, Yahusha. But not just that. You've got to know who he is. Yahusha is Alahim. He's the only living Alahim. There's only one. The Aleph and the Tor, the beginning and the end. His blood made all things new. He said that at his Last Supper. This is the blood of my new covenant. I'm raising it up new for you. He said, I didn't come to abolish, to do away with any of the Torah and the prophets. I came to fulfill it. I came to transform, breathe life into it, make it spiritual, take it from being something that is a bondage Torah of sin and death, something that is a schoolmaster to teach you about me. I'm taking it from something that teaches you about me to transitioning it into me. It's all about me. The fullness of the book, the fulfillment of the book is me. The whole book, this whole book is him. Everything you read in this is him. We're going to go into this a little bit more as we go on. But I just want to say to you, you need the name Yahusha, and you need to know that he is Alahim. And then we have to follow him. And you follow him to the death of yourself. And as you know, you're not capable of following him to the death of self unless you have his spirit and you have his fire cleansing. You're not capable. You can't do it of yourself. This isn't just some self-help motivational tapes that we listen to and feel good about ourselves. And no, you can't transform. You can't cocoon, metamorph yourself of yourself for yourself by yourself. You can't do it like that. You need him. So, brothers and sisters, all this is in the name of Yahusha Alahim. That is step one. You need to know who your deliverer is. You need to know what he did to deliver you. The great lengths, the great suffering, the death, the emptying of everything he was. He could have appeared as Yahuah. He could have appeared as a great conquering king, as your creator and as your Alahim, and directed all your requests and prayers to me. Thank you very much. He could have done that. But then he knew, as human nature does, we would copy that example. So when we go out and talk to people, we would be, because we don't do what we're told, we do what we've seen. We follow by example. We'd be out there declaring that you treat us like your masters, because that's how we've been treated. But that's not how he came, is it? He came as a humble servant. He put on humility so that we would copy that example. It doesn't mean he's only a son. It doesn't mean he's only a father. That's imagery. Examples of behavior that he wants us to copy. So brothers and sisters, that's step one. And we'll go on from here. You have no deliverer if you don't have Yahusha. There's no point talking about God and Lord and Christ and Jesus, talking about Christs and antichrists and everything in the world. That's not even real. So what are they all going on about? Millions, billions of people are declaring Jesus. They've missed the door. They've missed the door. They've missed their deliverer. Millions are going on in all sorts of religious mindsets and political mindsets, caught up with what Satan's doing. But Satan's very clever. He moves with the times. And now he's right there in those who declare Yahusha, because even though you might know the name Yahusha, and that's been a great victory for me to finally know what his true name is. It hasn't changed for over 10, 15 years now. It's beautiful. It was changing all the time as we were studying over the last 30 years. It hasn't changed. We know there's no more accurate pronunciation of his name, Yahusha. He is our Messiah, our deliverer, and he is Alahim. You need to come to him and understand him, who he is, and then he will open the door to an invisible spiritual reign. And we'll talk more about this as we come back shortly.